What a series. What a series. After a grueling 7 game series with a lot of unexpected turn of events, there will be a new NBA champion this season. And I couldn't be happier. First, Minnesota got off to an unexpected 2-0 series lead. They won both games on the road. That was shocking. Then they lost the next 3 games to be down in the series and on the brink of elimination, just to win the last 2 games and move on, in the process eliminating the defending champions. And it wasn't just a cool win, they came back from a big deficit at halftime. This was just an awesome series in my opinion, and Minnesota deserved this. And I told you that the Nuggets' hearts would break in Game 7, and they did. Waiting for them is the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks during the first round beat the Los Angeles Clippers, who obviously were hampered by Kawhi's injury. Dallas beat them pretty soundly in 6 games, and in the conference semifinals, they did the same thing with OKC, also beat them in 6 games, exactly as I predicted. The games were interesting, and it came down to free throws in Game 6. Sucks that it was free throws, not an amazing shot, but it is what it is. So, Minnesota versus Dallas. What happens here? Both teams met 4 times during the regular season, and Minnesota won 3 of those meetings. Man, I don't even know where to start. Well, for Dallas, let's start with their best player. Luka Doncic has to be better. He's averaging 27, 10, and 9. Good numbers, right? Well, he's shooting just 42% from the field and 30% from the 3. That just won't cut it against the Timberwolves. And I think this is my biggest fear for Dallas. Doncic has seemed a bit off during this playoff run, and he hasn't yet played a defense like the Timberwolves, so it doesn't look good here. The Mavericks also need their bigs to show up. It was easy against the Clippers, who didn't really have bigs besides Zubac. It was easy against OKC, who don't have bigs, but the Timberwolves do have bigs. They have size everywhere, so it gets real hard for Dallas down there in the paint. And it won't get much easier around the perimeter either. Man, Minnesota just has defense for it all. They have the length on the perimeter and defenders to throw at Dallas guards for days. They held down a very good offense in the Nuggets to a couple of very poor shooting nights. What do you think will happen against a more predictable offensive team? And it's the defense, guys. It's the defense that's so far superior for the Timberwolves. I'm probably still in awe about what happened in the Nuggets series, but man, it will be hard for Dallas to score against them. In the paint, you have the Defensive Player of the Year and Karl Anthony Towns, and on the perimeter, you're also met with fire in Jaden McDaniels and Ant Edwards. And let's not forget this piece for the Timberwolves, Mike Conley. If I told you that at almost 37 years old and in 2024, Mike Conley would be one of the more important players on a possible NBA champion, you probably wouldn't believe me. But he is. When he couldn't go in Game 5, you saw how Minnesota just looks different. It's his leadership, and he can also still make plays himself. Mike Conley is an MVP in a way for this team. I would imagine that Jaden McDaniels will guard Luka and Ant will go on Kyrie. Yes, Dallas has more playoff experience, and even though Gafford and Lively aren't as big as Jokic, they are far more athletic, so it could get interesting in the paint. But Rudy Gobert, Mr. Defensive Player of the Year, you have to be better as well. At times, in the Nuggets series, he looked unplayable. And it's not a shame to look like that against Jokic, but in Game 5 especially, it was just painful to watch how he couldn't do anything on offense or defense. He's clunky with the ball, and if he isn't blocking shots or altering them, he really can't offer much else. Dallas' strength is on the perimeter, which I guess is good for Gobert since he won't be specifically facing a superstar big, but come on now, show up. Prove that you're a Defensive Player of the Year. Dallas is a very talented team, and after the trade deadline, they had like the second best record in the league, so they seemingly have all the ingredients. I just think the matchup is at the wrong place and at the wrong time. Minnesota is coming off a win against the defending champions. Luka is struggling and has some injury issues. Minnesota is quite healthy, and the best defense they have is on the perimeter, and Dallas' strength is the perimeter. So it just all bodes very well for the Timberwolves and poorly for Dallas. Now, let's be fair here. We saw Minnesota fold a little bit. They were up 2-0 against the Nuggets and everyone was talking about a possible sweep. But they ended up losing the next 3 games. Ant wasn't particularly impressive in the last few games as well, and if the Wolves' other players, so to speak, are missing shots, it can get real messy real fast for the Wolves. Dallas has 2 big shot makers, proven big shot makers. Do you think they could make a crazy 3 against the Wolves if they are reeling? I think they could. As for the series, I just think that Minnesota has that proverbial switch on defensive side. Man, when they turn it on, they turn it on. I don't think they can do that the whole series against Dallas, but they will do when they need it to. If Luka doesn't show up as Luka, I think this ends in 5. If Luka does play well, I think this one has the potential to go 7. So I'll stay in the middle and say that Timberwolves win this one in 6 to advance to the NBA Finals. I just don't see any reasonable way how Dallas could win this. I read somewhere an opinion before Game 7 that the Mavericks should want Denver to advance because that's an easier matchup, and while it sounds a bit crazy, I think that's the truth. Minnesota has all the tools to slow Dallas down. Also bench play. Minnesota had some excellent bench play from big man Naz Reid. Can Dallas match it? No, Maxi Kleber will hurt quite a bit in the series, and PJ Washington will have to be that third scorer for Dallas in the series. None of Dallas bigs can spread the floor, and Luka hasn't played well. I can see Dallas stealing one of the first 2 road games. Minnesota is coming off a hard series against the Nuggets, and the Wolves lost 2 games at home last series, so why wouldn't Dallas take one? But in the end, I just think that Minnesota's length, physical play will just be too much. So, like I said, wrong matchup, wrong time. But what do you think, guys? Who wins here? Who goes to the NBA Finals? Please leave your comment down below. Don't forget to like a video, share with others, and subscribe to the channel. This is Purple Prince, and I'm out.